I want to use the analogy of a team. City Council is the cheering squad. We we encourage job creation. We do not interfere with the jobs, with the companies. And we help to maintain that business, the jobs. We are also referees. So we want to promote fair play.
I think it's a huge role, especially right now when we take a look at the possibility of being the city to have the second headquarters of Amazon. We need to emphasize that we're a low tax jurisdiction and that we're a great distribution hub for companies such as that.
It plays a significant role and needs to play a more significant role going forward, especially with the way that our taxes have gone up for our small businesses and businesses across the city, especially during this economic downturn. We have to look at how do we incentivize business and not try to squeeze more taxes out of them to shut it down. I have an MBA in global energy management and I'm very averse to business knowledge and the issues facing businesses, and we got to figure out how do we get more and attract more. If we're going to diversify our economy, this has to be first and foremost.
I think the role of the city is to attract investment and to create the conditions necessary for businesses to thrive and to prosper. One way to do that is to have infrastructure in place that attracts businesses to come here. So we have the West LRT in Ward 6, which is great for people to use as commuting, and if elected, I will champion those kinds of projects, like for example an LRT to the airport, which I think would be a great selling point to attract companies to come here.
Calgary needs to progressively build a vibrant city that will attract companies like Amazon to want to come here. Calgary has a world-class tech community. We need to do a better job at both the civic level and the provincial level of raising the flag and saying this is a great opportunity for us to create a significant secondary industry.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. So in Canada, 4/5 of job growth and job creation is the result of small businesses, yet only half of these businesses survive past their 5th year of existence. The City Council, along with the Mayor and of course other organizations like Economic Development Calgary, play a very critical role in helping to attract new businesses to our economic climate here in Calgary. We have one of the best places to grow and develop a business. We have lots of available space and we have a highly educated workforce. So I think a combination of those factors need to be sold so that more companies like Rocket Space can be attracted. The 4th industrial revolution is upon us and Calgary needs to be a leader in this.
Well, I think economic development is triggered by small businesses, and the City of Calgary needs to make sure that they are all for small businesses, helping them around. I believe that City of Calgary needs a one-stop shopping for all entrepreneurs. I've seen from my own experiences that entrepreneurs have to run for different permits at different windows at different times, which is not acceptable. I think if we really want to have economic growth in this city, that's how City of Calgary and City Hall can help entrepreneurs.
Taxes and city services need a top-down budgeting approach. We have to actually look at our priorities, not just for 1 year, but maybe 4 or even longer than the term of a councillor, because some of the infrastructure projects that are required are way more than 4 years, and we also have to look at what the long-term impacts of those are, so that we don't have large taxes being put on our citizens. So we definitely have to look at how do we balance the needs and wants of the city and the city services. I'm not for cutting and laying off people. I'm about how do we have an effective group of people working within the city to make things happen. We've had a significant challenge within this city of recent times relative to the economy. People are hurting out there, and we got to make sure that our taxes are providing the value for the citizens that they want and that is realistic in the economic times we live in.
The overwhelming mood in Calgary, and especially in Ward 6, is that spending needs to be responsible and that taxes need to be kept affordable. Reviewing existing and new programs is an important way to see how we're spending money. So if elected, I will prioritize reviewing our spending decisions to make sure that we're making smart ones and to make sure that we're keeping taxes affordable.
As I said, I'm an accountant by profession, and I'm an entrepreneur, and my expertise is finding efficiencies in any system, and I think Like any other system, City Hall has also those inefficiencies. I believe raising taxes should be the last resort for City Hall. I believe that by finding efficiencies in the system, we can release those resources to be used where those resources are needed most in the city. That's how I see that we can balance those taxes with services.
I think across the 27 business units that the city has, we need to look at how we can increase operational rigor and look critically at how we can incentivize and create efficiencies within each department. I think it's time to cut the wasteful spending and look critically at how we can do better.
I believe you have to determine if this is a need of the team. I'm going to use a team analogy again. Is this a need of the team? And your teams are like families. And then you have to, on each point that I'm going to be using, you have to keep asking, is this reasonable? Is this good for each one of us? Is this good for the whole team? Is this good for the whole city? Or the whole, the rest of the people involved? So you follow your plan, which is your budget. And you also prioritize the need, because you'll find when you work with people, there's a lot of need. So you have to prioritize because you only have so much money to work with at that certain given time.
There's no easy answers here. One of the biggest challenges because of the economic downturn is Calgary is currently facing a $170 million shortfall for the budget year 2018. We are going to have to make some very difficult choices around the services that Calgarians are experiencing. And for example, if transit ridership is down substantially, then one of the service areas that may have to be looked at and explored is things like transit services. I am a big believer that if we do make a strong commitment to rebuilding Calgary as an economic place to do business, that increased benefit of things like property taxes and the benefits that will spin off as a result of stimulating our economy will eventually help offset the challenges that we've faced over the last couple of years.
Okay, that's the number one platform of my campaign, responsible management of tax dollars. So no wasteful spending. For example, the Blue Circle up on Airport Trail or the Beaufort Towers down by Canada Olympic Park. Silly, wasteful public art projects. We don't need those anymore. We just need our taxes going toward essential services.
The arena question, I think, needs to be looked at with the view of what kind of city do we want to be, and to continue and maintain our status as a world-class city, I think it is important to have an arena. But that said, we need to talk about how much taxpayer money should be invested, and I think my professional background is a mediator, so if elected, I would get everyone together, get all the parties together, and make sure that we have a deal that works for Calgarian taxpayers.
The Saddle Dome is owned by the City of Calgary, and it is an aging facility that often doesn't get utilized by big acts and big performances that come and skip Calgary. There is some challenges that are at hand here with the Saddle Dome and replacing that as a building. We do need to be very careful that any commitment that would come from taxpayers needs to be recovered. But one of the ways that we can do that is following the model of what's being done in Edmonton with the ICE district, by building a very vibrant place where you can build additional businesses, additional shopping, and additional successful enterprises there. It will result in much better opportunities to collect revenue for the city from a healthy, vibrant area. So any commitment to a project needs to have that commitment that ratepayers will get that return on their investment.
We have all these athletic programs, and it creates all kinds of jobs, and people love doing it, and we need this arena. I'm not afraid of many things, but what thing I'm afraid of is someday I might be cheering for the Edmonton Oilers. And worse, I might be losing some of my Calgary identity, and I love this city.
Yeah, the arena debate is an interesting one. First of all, I think with my 25 years of business experience, I've been at the negotiating table a lot in business. So I would have a lot to offer in putting together any kind of a deal. I'd like to see a deal get put together, as long as, of course, there's no new taxes for citizens. We wouldn't want to bring in any new taxes in order to do that. Possibly we could do some kind of a share program for citizens.
It's very clear there's a process that has failed on both sides here. We got to get the parties back to the table, and we got to figure out a deal that works and is fair for both sides. We need a world-class arena in this city. If we want to talk about being a world-class city, the Saddle Dome served its purpose. It looks great in the landscape, but there's a lot of amenities that could be added to a new age arena, and I look forward to working with the Flames ownership group and the city to make sure that we have a fair deal for the taxpayers of this city that is not burdening our taxpayers, but also allowing for a wonderful community venue for a great hockey team.
Well, it has really gone out of proportions, I believe. To start with, ice sport and arena in Calgary. I think that is something which is much needed in Calgary. But it has to be fiscally responsible, which means that it should be good for all the stakeholders. And I believe at no stage, taxpayers should be liable to pay for it. I think even if City of Calgary pays it upfront, a portion of it, but that has to come back to the city. But the approach the city has taken so far, going public with it, I think that's not a right approach. I think I've been a long time entrepreneur. I have done thousands of deals. I believe that it has to be negotiated privately, and I think City Hall should refrain from taking everything in public.
As a councillor, I have to be open to the opportunity that we may have a new arena. My job is to look at it critically and evaluate whether this makes sense for Calgarians as a whole. Ultimately, Calgary's divided. We are a hockey and entertainment culture. However, nobody really wants to foot the bill as a taxpayer. That said, I believe we can get back to the negotiation table and put a deal together that's right for everyone.
Well, certainly one of the biggest issues is the development of the Southwest Ring Road. And one of the complaints, unfortunately, about the gravel processing pit that is nearby in order to do that work is that it's too noisy. It turns out this is a project being done by the province, and their noise mitigation levels are lower than the cities. I would like to see the municipal government take over jurisdiction of noise mitigation, or at least work with the province more closely so that we can agree on a higher, much more improved level of noise reduction and mitigation.
Well, biggest issue what we are hearing from our ward is about ring road noise, which is in the process of being built, and I think the major problem there is or has been is the communication. I think the residents have not received the proper communication, and anytime there is a lack of information, that actually creates a vacuum with which people are, people in general are afraid of not knowing. And when people don't know about and they create their own perceptions, that make them fearful and eventually angry. And I think the communication is the main thing as far as ring road noise is concerned. I think city has, and city planning department has approached it right. I think they have things in place to mitigate this problem. But the only problem is the communication. That has not been communicated properly to the residents.
Well, we definitely can't have our property taxes continuing to go up with our services staying the same. Secondly, we got to look at densification in our old established neighborhoods and how it's wanted and how it's rolled out. It's very clear that residents do not like the current process. It's not transparent, it's not consistent, and if we want to talk about higher density, we got to create a plan that's effectively communicated within the neighborhoods and go about enhancing getting that out as quickly as we can for housing choice, but most importantly that it's welcomed in the neighborhood right away. In addition, we can't have the south leg of the ring road just ending there. We don't want it to be a horseshoe road. We got to work as quickly as we can to get the entire ring road complete so traffic and unnecessary noise is not plowing into all the neighborhoods within the ward from our southern neighbors within the city.
Overwhelmingly at the doors, I hear the biggest issue is traffic concerns and safety. From Cougar Ridge to Glamorgan, the issues are the same. People are tired of hearing infrastructure is being tied to other infrastructure projects. We deserve better value for our tax dollars. Ward 6 pays the highest taxes in the city. It is time to get roads built and get people moving. Congestion is a major problem that we need to address immediately.
I'm sorry, Helen, but it's not one issue, because I have 15 neighborhoods in Ward 6 in the west-southwest part of Calgary. The two biggest ones are we need sensible, affordable housing there. And we also we have a lot of traffic concerns because as you know, building the ring road and delaying building the ring road has caused a lot of traffic. One road is getting 22,000 cars a day, and it's not a connector road. So these people are putting up with noise and bad construction of the road, dangerous construction of the road, and they're putting up with, and then of course the old Banff Coach Road, where people are crossing dangerously and people are almost getting hit because the cars, there's no signal there at 87th and Old Banff Coach Road. So we need signal lights up there or something, stop signs, whatever we need to put up there just to help save people's lives.
Absolutely. The biggest challenge that I've been hearing as I've been speaking to residents of Ward 6 is things like traffic and congestion. We have enormous challenges centering around the difficulty we have getting around for work and for school and for other destinations that we travel to. As a councillor, I would be very heavily committed to a couple things. One, very good transit planning for any new development projects. I would look very carefully at the correct infrastructure. And as you can see with the frustrations of Ward 6 on things like the gravel pit with the ring road and some of the other challenges now that are coming up, we need better public consultation on these projects to make sure that the public feels like they're involved in and have a say in how these projects are impacting their lives. So as a councillor, I'd make a very strong commitment to that. We also need to look at intelligent transit or traffic planning, like what's been very successful in other cities in the world to help mitigate that traffic and congestion issues.
After door knocking for the last 6 months, traffic safety has made itself clear as the #1 issue for Ward 6. Families, I've actually almost seen someone get run over, and people at the doors always tell me about seeing kids almost get hit, and that they worry that it's going to take someone getting seriously injured before action is taken. So if elected, I'm going to try to get everyone together at the table to make sure that we have safety infrastructure in place to keep our kids and pedestrians safe.